Hello, welcome back. Here's week 10. Let's take a look at what we've got. Well, here it is, week 10, Guns, Germs, and Steel Synthesis, Global Issues in Culture, Organization, and Technology. And in the learning objectives and the topics, I've added a few things. The main event is the two new lectures by Jared Diamond, which I'm sure you're going to find interesting on topics that we haven't seen him discuss before. And incidentally, these topics are a lot more, you might say, they're less controversial to a lot of the critics that he has than the ones that we've been reading about. So even though these are somewhat dire and you might say downer kind of top presentations, they are also ones that a lot more people find easier to digest and to agree with in terms of his methodology. Okay. The actual assignments, these are the assignments, and there are quite a few of them, and there are two involving articles by me because we just happen to have crossed over into territory that fits our course and also fits my own research interests. This one on Nepal wireless, I hope you'll find it interesting and useful. It's basically pretty short, but it's a reminder that this is a project that my center worked with the people in Nepal on a very successful project. It's turned out because they've set up their own ISP, Internet Service Provider, starting at a very small town in Nepal in the Central Mountains, way up high, as you can imagine. And now it's become one of the few not-for-profit ISPs in the world. And we started with, as you can see here, it was even illegal to bring in computer parts. So they had to haul them in boxes and arrange them this way. This diagram here, which you'll see when you read it, it's about over a decade ago, but we found a way to transmit from mountain to mountain, going from Nanji, which is the village, to Pokhara, which was the town, big town, next, not too far from Kathmandu. It's about 34 kilometers, and we did it using Wi-Fi technology. I know it sounds strange because it usually only goes for 1,000 feet or so, but we used some pretty useful technology to take advantage of it. And these are the stations that refresh the signal and send it along, completely powered with solar energy. And one of the statistics there is that the number of villages began with one, and now it's 122 villages. Now there are 80 schools. And the number of clinics, we have 8 clinics. So this is a tale that fits into some of the things that not only that Diamond has talked about in the book we were reading, but also that he discusses in these two lectures about the ability sometimes to be able to take advantage of difficult situations. The Digital Life in 2025, that's I know you're going to enjoy that because it's relative. It doesn't have a bunch of, this is a Pew study, and it doesn't have the usual percentages in it. It has 15 themes that they actually believe are significant themes, and what they would have to do with technology in the future, and they give you 15 experts on the positive side and then 15 on the negative side. I think it's very useful and a very interesting perspective. Structures of Peace is a report that shows us how people measure the relative peacefulness or not peacefulness of countries. And you'll notice that the methodology involves using some reports that we've already seen and actually discussed in class and even on some of the presentations, World Bank, United Nations, Brookings, and several others. So I know that'll be useful. And this is an article, and the reason I wrote this was to discuss some of the ways of measuring telecommunications technology. And in it, there are two diagrams I think you'll find useful. This happens to be a comparison of two completely different countries, Belarus and Saudi Arabia. Not trying to make any points about either one of them, but by indicating that using this technique, which gives you 8 or 9 variables, it's called a spider chart, you can look at in terms of what sort of a star shape you get, you can get a feel for what these countries' relative abilities are in terms of this particular technology, which has to do with telecommunications technology. And there's another chart down here which makes the same point that Diamond does using telecommunications data. That this particular chart shows each one of these groups of bars represents regions: Europe, developed countries, Americas, Arab states, etc. And as you go from the lowest one, that's where the lowest percent in terms of monetary units needs to be spent on telecommunications. That's in Europe on the lower left, to Africa on the upper right, where it's 24 times that much. 24.6 is the amount. So you end up seeing something actually specific that tells you that not only if you're in a poor country, poor region, that you spend a lot more for telecommunications services, but that those services are not as good. It's a double whammy for sure. Bad news. And then the main event here where I said watch, there are four things to watch. One of them is a really interesting lecture by Harvard's Professor Sean Achor about happiness, the happiness coefficient, not only so much how happiness is measured, he's not so much into that, but how happiness can be evaluated. And it's I think you'll find it not only entertaining, but also full of insights. And don't forget, I've mentioned we have a couple of great economists in the same building where we do our classes together, and their names are Tyler Cowen and I blocked out on the other guy's name. But anyway, the two of them are very successful in developing MOOCs. Tabarrok is the other one's name, Alex Tabarrok. But anyway, they're very successful in developing MOOCs, massive open online courses. So here's a MOOC. Just all you have to do is click on it. I'm not going to do it, but just click on it, and it will take you to a MOOC that they did. And by the way, they are well known internationally, not just here in the region. A MOOC on our subject, which is the guns, germs, and steel. They felt it was an important enough economic subject, economic development subject, that they did a MOOC on it. So just click on it. I think you'll find it vastly entertaining, interesting, and useful, and definitely relevant. And then the main theme, the pièce de résistance, if you will, this week is Jared Diamond's two lectures, both quite short, Why Societies Collapse and How Societies Grow Old, both of which are very significant today, even more so perhaps than the guns, germs, and steel ones, because he's answering the questions, well, what do we do next? What do we have to be concerned about next? So I think you're going to find all of that useful, interesting, and that's my hope anyway, because that's what I'm hoping will come from this. And don't forget, I put a little note on the notes I send each week, where I give you an opportunity, if you want to consider an internship that's coming up for 3 credits. You need to start pretty soon, and it's over toward the end of January. Well, not completely over, but pretty much most of the work could be done by then, so that may not be convenient. But it's a very difficult project, but lots of other students have done one just like it, and when it's all over, they found it very helpful. So check it out, see if you're interested in it. If you are, you can contact Mr. Bradshaw, and he will be able to tell you more about it. So all that and more. I hope you have a good week this week, and that the course is meeting your needs and your expectations. And I'll look forward to being in contact with you all week online. See you later.